Greetings. Greetings to all of you. Shalom Aleichem. On coming Monday, the 22nd of April 2024 of the current Gregorian year, precisely at the sunset, and indeed the very early evening, the sacred days of Holy Passover is scheduled to commence. These sacred days are not man-made, but commanded by God the Almighty to his people Israel in the Mount Sinai, or I should say from the Mount Sinai through the prophet Moses. These days are not merely sacred, they're inevitable for every single individual who believes in the Torah, in the Old Testament of the Holy Bible. These days are not merely sacred and holy, but they are also supposed to be the very symbol of bond between God and his people. His people initially, the very first chosen ones, known as Israel, but also through them, all those who confess the faith as recognizing Abraham as their father. But these days also remind the people of Israel, but also those who are acquainted with the Holy Bible, of slavery, hardships, persecution, and even execution in Egypt. The same incident took place, perhaps to a smaller number, on 7th October of the past year 2023, when some fanatics belonging to the group of Hamas, or perhaps even Hamas, crossed onto the territory of southern Israel and began massacring people, killing people inhumanely, violating girls and women, and abducting many. Even during this very day, I was listening to an interview of a lady whose husband is still a captive in the hands of this dreadful terrorist group known as Hamas. She herself had been a victim and was detained in a tunnel. According to her own statements, she was hardly able to breathe due to the lack of ventilation there. She also reported the dreadful incident of a young girl going to answer the call of nature, returning crying, and later revealing herself being violated by some brute belonging to this inhuman terrorist group. The holy days of Passover are not merely sacred, but they're inevitable for every single person who believes in the Torah and acknowledges God as the only sole and true God. Those days of Passover, also known as the Feast of the Unleavened Bread, are absolutely inevitable. Even when someone in the desert, in the wilderness, while Moses was still alive, touched a dead body and considered to be unclean, God commanded that the Passover must be kept even by then. My question to the world: are those detainees of Hamas are being able to keep the holy Passover, befitting the very laws given by God the Almighty? If they are refrained from so doing because they are in captivity, their assailants, even those terrorists, are not merely acting against the state of Israel, but they're acting against the holy commandment of God the Almighty, the only true and living God, calling upon themselves destruction, even elimination of their own people, as we saw this happening time and time again in the Jewish history and in the history of Israel, beginning in Egypt and continuing until this day. On many past occasions, on various occasions in the past, I pleaded for the release of those detainees, the innocent ones, the defenseless ones, the children and the women. Tonight, this very night, which is the night between the 18th to the 19th of April of the current Gregorian year 2024, I no longer request but warn those assailants, those terrorists, and all those who support them of the wrath which may befall upon them. God's people are not duty-bound to keep silence when their fellow countrymen and women are not merely held captive, oppressed, exploited, violated, and massacred, but also when they are kept from keeping the holy Passover, a bond between God the Almighty and his people, even his first chosen ones. This is my errand. This is my message. This is my warning to all the enemies of Israel on this very night, some 3 nights prior to the commencing of the Passover of the current Jewish year. Shalom, Shalom Israel. May God the Almighty protect you and grant you victory.